Hello and you're welcome to Business Highlights on Trust TV, where we take an analytical look at business and economic developments that happened during the week and how the developments affect Nigeria's economy and the average Nigerian out there. My name is Chamun Dabeng and I'll be your host. Let's talk numbers. We're opening the floor with the bull and the bear on the market. The stock market lost 2.79% of its value at the end of July, despite influx in strong half-year 2022 earning reports from certain listed businesses. The downward trend on the bourse became more obvious in the trading week that ended on Friday, July 29th, as stock investors deal with the long-lasting effects of the most recent increase in NPR. The market suffered its record loss as a result of 4 straight days of negative closes compared to one positive close. Stock market investors lost nearly 869 billion naira during the last trading week, a decrease of 3.1% week over week. As downward trends continue to weigh on the market, market observers see certain equities decline below their year open values. The market's year-to-date positive return, which closed the week lower at positive 17.92% when trading ended on Friday. The all-share index ASI and market capitalization of the Nigerian Exchange Limited (NGX), which had started the week under review at 51,979.92 points and 28.031 trillion naira, respectively, had dropped to 50,370.25 points and 27.162 trillion naira. Insurance and consumer goods equities are clearly impacted by the unprecedented sell-off. The NGX Insurance Index saw the largest increase of 4.96%, followed by a weekly decline of 4.64% in the NGX Consumer Goods Index. The NGX Banking Index fell by 0.43%, the NGX Industrial Index fell by 0.22%, and the NGX Oil and Gas Index fell by 0.95%. In total, there were 4,905 deals with a volume of 254.772 million, valued at 2.811 billion naira. The top 3 gainers for Friday were UBN, Multiverse, and UCAP, up by 10, 9.94, and 9.9% respectively. And the 3 losers were PZ, Caverton, and Wema Bank, down by 9.57, 9.09, and 8.36% respectively. Coming up next, top stories. You're welcome back. Well, another demolition has occurred in the FCT. Now, this took place in Jabi, located in the Federal Capital Territory, on Monday. Some of the areas this has happened are Lugbe, Garki, Utako, Airport Road, just to name a few, and we can expect more demolitions in the nearest future. The essence of the entire exercise is to rid the FCT of illegal structures and shanties lined up on the street. However, in a bid to clean up the streets, is the country incurring losses? Joining me in the studio today is political and policy analyst, Mr. Chibuzo Okereke. You're welcome to the show.
Thank
now,
you.
What are your thoughts on the recent demolitions? This has happened before. In the early 2000s, we're seeing the same pattern again with the FCT trying to clean up the streets of these illegal structures, these shanties. What do you think about the exercise?
Yeah, there have been an increasing number of urban marginalities in FCT, and you can easily say this is because of failure, plan indiscipline, and other challenges. So how did those illegal structures came in place in the first place? So well, that is the major question. How did those illegal structures come about? So we should be concerned about that. And that speaks to also the kind of urban policy that we operate. Who is responsible for urbanization policy? How come we're having a lot of urban marginalities, or what we call internal colonies, coming up every day? You could talk about economic factors, you could talk about rural-urban migration, and the kind of resurgence of population that we are having in the FCT, contrary to the original plan, because the plan didn't have enough vision to know that this is the Federal Capital Territory, the home for all, and people will keep moving here. And how do we urbanize and plan, you know, in terms of spatial housing and what have you? So that is the challenge. So I can tell you that a lot more houses will be demolished because we have a high rate of inequality, and therefore people are just finding ways to get by. And you have villages across, and people with low income, you know, in most of these urban areas. If you go to Maitama, there's Maitama village, Asokoro village, Airport Road village, just all across. So there is issue with our urban policy and town planning, and we need to do more to deal with that. Yeah.
All right, so we'll get into the issues of town planning and urban policies after we take a look at this report. Of course, like I said, there was a demolition that took place on Monday in Jabi, so let's take a look.
It is indeed a black Monday for shop owners who come for normal business only to see bulldozers pulling down their shops.
On Thursday, they came and started scattering everywhere. On Saturday, they came for marking final demolition. So we wake up this morning, coming to shop, we saw this.
We just come here this morning, just come and start to demolish. Even the people that give us the land, never give them anything. Just come here and give them some things. They never give them things. So it's just to demolish this morning.
While it is a sad day for shop owners, metal scrap scavengers are more than happy to collect the leftovers. This man says he gets his lunch ticket from the debris.
This is aluminium. It is used to fabricate pot, kettle, and many things.
Senior Special Assistant to the FCT Minister on Monitoring, Inspection and Enforcement, Ikaro Atta, says the exercise will continue.
The other ones there will be removed tomorrow. The ones that will be removed tomorrow. The main cardinal place we have to go now for theatre of operation is Kuje Area Council. The entire Kuje Road corridor will be cleared. After we had cleared the whole Kuje Road corridor, we'll be clearing the railway corridor. We'll build houses on. We'll clear those ones. Then we'll go back to Papin. Every area.
Some traders struggle to retrieve some valuables, though many others are not so lucky. About 10-story buildings are down beyond recognition.
All right, like the report said, it was a sad day for a lot of business owners out there, and that is a conversation that we also need to have, is the fact that a lot of people who own shops, a lot of people who establish businesses within those areas are now left without a means of income. So when we ask, are we incurring losses, is this a loss that we're facing as a country?
Well, that is the challenge with policy. You see, there are political feasibilities of a policy and the operational feasibility. And there are economic consequences for every of our decisions. And some people may argue, at a time we are facing economic downturn, are we supposed to be, you know, demolishing businesses of people? What could have been the alternative? And these are important questions. And at the time those businesses emerged, where were the approving authorities? Why did they allow them to settle there knowing that it's illegal? And then over time, when the business is coming up, contributing to our daily economy and is uprooted. So now what kind of settlement you know, are these people going to have, especially the businesses? And that goes to the root of how we plan, you know, when we plan and how we execute our plan. So maybe it's needful because of flood and other disasters that could occur, that those guys need to move from there. But again, what is the economic impact of this? And I can tell you, definitely, many people will be left without job. Many households, they are going to suffer. But what is the cost benefit? That's what we look at. You know, when we remove those businesses, what is the cost benefit to either trying to get our spatial space to be right, or making sure that livelihood are sustained? And I think that there should be a balance, you know, in what we do. These are citizens. We must, first of all, make sure that the approving authority does their job properly, so that the illegal structure don't even get there in the first place. And when people know there are stringent processes to ensure we don't have illegal structure. Businesses will not just be uprooted in this manner. Yeah.
All right, so you spoke about urban planning and town planning, pardon me, and urban policies.
Yeah.
Now, what is the possibility of marrying the two? Is it a situation where they're working independently rather than together?
They are supposed to work together because you see, first of all, where is our entire urban policy document? Abuja Master Plan, for instance, is supposed to have been reviewed severally, right? Because you plan for 1,000 or so people, and now you are having nearly 10,000, people, and even every day, urban marginalities and internal colonies are developing. And economic inequality are also forcing people among the three concentric cycles. There are people that were in the marginal areas are now being forced out because of economic downturn, affecting the middle class people that have collapsed. And the more those people goes there, the other people will be forced further down into the hinterland. And you continue to have urban marginalities because those places will emerge. They will sprout out of need, not out of plan.
Yes,
so it is important that this policy is operationalized through the town planning mechanism, and the government officials are working regularly to ensure that if somebody actually designed something, these roadside hawkers with a tarpaulin and umbrella and what have you, somebody constructed something nice and fashionable like you have in Rwanda and co, and say, what if government developed this? Rather than have the kind of squatters and shanties that deface the city.
So that way there's a proper system, there's taxing and
in the evening,
contribution.
in the evening, those things can be collapsed. You collapse them, and in the morning,
you just pick it up and leave.
And it's fashionable, and anyone that is getting old could be renewed. Because, you see, these small businesses are also critical to the survival of the citizens. If they don't have that business, what else will they get into? At a time insecurity is everywhere, they could become vulnerable, So we must balance between enforcing what is right and ensuring the socio-economic stability of the country.
All right, so since the demolition that took place in Jabi on Monday, so far a couple of businessmen under the aegis of Double Volume Office, DFO, and their shop owners, and they came out to say, oh, their shops and structures were demolished on Monday, but it was done illegally. Is this a situation that, that we're actually facing, where people are actually given a certain place and say, okay, you can actually do whatever you want there, and then still have to face demolition at the end of the day?
That's why I asked who gave them, who is the approving authority. I know because, Nigeria is boisterous with vibrant population, business ideas. We have the market and the economy, and that is why everywhere is market in Nigeria. If you put it in front of your shop, or your house rather, people will come and buy because the population is there. The economy is there. That is the issue. But again, in terms of structure, there must be an approving authority for such structures, right? Even an estate is not enough for estate owners to say, our corridors are now going to be shops, because that is not a development approval they got. If they are going to make an extension, there has to be an approving authority. So where we have illegal approving authorities, this is a big challenge, and that needs to be, handled.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about Nigeria's housing deficit. Now, this demolition thing has just basically brought it back to light a little bit, because a lot of the structures that were actually demolished were also homes, houses to people who had their families. They'd been there for about 20 years, 15 years. So far, Trust TV has actually followed a lot of these demolitions that has gone on within the FCT, and we've spoken to people and they've come out to say, oh, I've lived here for so amount of time. So first of all, like you said, where are the bodies that are supposed to, make sure that the FCT is going according to plan? How is it that these structures were allowed to stay up for up to 23 years, 25 years, 30 years, even some, and nothing was actually, being done about it at an earlier point? And Yes, now bringing it down to the housing deficit. As houses and structures are being demolished now, does this in any way contribute to Nigeria's 28 million housing deficit?
I don't, even that 28 million, I don't think is small. We have more than that. The truth is that there is no housing program going on that is targeting the people, especially the vulnerable people. You see, housing is one of the most important needs of a man, right? Once a body of people, once they have eaten, the next thing is even housing. Sometimes even housing could come before food, except when people have health conditions. So this is how important housing is. Unfortunately, Nigeria is urban biased. You know, that is why you have a lot of, because the rural development programs are not working. And that is because the local government too has failed to work for many reasons. So unlike in the UK, for instance, where you have proper housing subsidy programs, where housing, is developed, which government in recent time, apart from the years of the MPN and co, that have made housing policy and development a critical or front burner policy of their agenda. We have completely privatized housing, and that is not going to help. That failure or that gap in policy is why you're seeing the emergence and resurgence of urban marginality every day coming up, to the extent that people are even reselling the same property 3 to 4 times. So we have a huge deficit in housing, but that is not to say people should just build houses anyhow. And that is why the authorities must have to step up. If you watch, housing is very costly in Nigeria, even in the FCT, right?
Especially
because the private developers are solely responsible for everything. They develop the infrastructure, they develop water scheme, they bring in power there. Government is not intervening in it. It's as though government is not involved in housing in Nigeria. Some of the housing programs they are too infinitesimal to even address the kind of issues that we are seeing. And of course, we don't even know the population of Abuja today. We are estimating, and across the country, we are all estimating the population. And that big data, unavailability of that data makes planning almost impossible. So it's critical that, houses are built properly and planned, but also more critical that the government takes responsibility, that forces cost of housing to come down in Nigeria. And that you could see houses in Abuja everywhere, but nobody is occupying them because the funds to do that are not just there. And the reason they are so high is that the acquisition of land is by forces of demand and supply, survival of the fittest, the development of infrastructure, the same way. If you go to, do you know how much government is losing for not getting involved in the real estate sector? Some subsidies? Because you see, these private developers, I know a particular estate where even the individuals there, the power, electricity is privatized. They pay to the developer, who in turn pays to the power holding company and what have you. The same thing with water. Any month you decided to use your swimming pool effectively, you will be paying a lot of money for using, and this is to a private individual. And yes, government is complaining about revenue. But if we have a water scheme, nobody will erect all those. If you go to an estate with 200 houses, you're going to see 200 boreholes built by private people. There are tanks there, and the tanks stand erected, which is also having its own impact on climate change and what have you. But if we had public water system, which people pay and is trusted, is reliable, it comes regularly, the government will make revenue from it, right? And the private developer will have the roads infrastructure provided, which will force the cost of land and housing down, because the infrastructure fee you pay will automatically be out. Yeah.
I think when it comes to water, the two keywords there are reliable and regular.
Yeah.
Yes, because that has always been an issue in, you know, so many areas. I mean, after all, why would I want to spend hundreds of thousands to get a borehole in my house when I could just turn on the tap, pay directly to the government, and everything is settled? I mean,
but the government is not willing. There's a particular estate where they put public water scheme, you know, and then look at the water board in FCT. How much are they making? What is their budget? If you go to that estate, each person has his borehole, but government still supplies them water, and sometimes the bill is 200 naira, 300 naira, 400 naira a month, because they are not even relying on that public own.
Yeah.
It doesn't come regularly. They focus on their borehole. And this is a huge opportunity for us, and we are not able to tap into it. First, it has contribution to cost of housing. It also has significant contribution to revenue stream to the government.
All right, so we did have the vice president. He came out this week to say that, excuse me, please, to say that about 75% of houses in Nigeria are substandard. And the first thing that came to my head was, you know, that's the failure on whose part? What happened to the institutions or the bodies that are supposed to make sure that these houses that are being built are durable?
Well, you see, you have the current, the engineers, you know, association, you have the architecture, you have all kinds of associations. Now, these associations are self-regulating, right? The question is, who oversights them? Who oversights? Who ensures? You have even NEMSA to ensure that the kind of power system, electricity in buildings are safe and secured. You have seen a lot of house collapse in Lagos, killing a lot of people, you know, here and there. So the problem, when you say houses are substandard, it means there is a failure of policy, of oversight, of regulation. And then, with our experiences, have we been able to do anything to even overcome what is going on? The answer is no. And that is about the character of the nation, of the people. There are certain things that must be exclusive and important, and then we deal with it professionally, you know, the way we are supposed to do it. So if these people that are self-regulating, once you're able to pass their exam, who oversights how those exams are done today? And who even makes sure that any project that is going on, there is a certified engineer overseeing it? What is a situation where you put certificate of an engineer who is not even there to get your approval, but on site, you decided to take on cheap labor? So we must launch out massively, ensuring, because this is how cities are developed for sustainability. You cannot cut it short or compromise it and expect results. We must make sure that every housing program goes through statutory approval process and regular oversight at every job completion level to ensure that it meets the required standard. If it's about the laws for those standards, they are there. The bodies for those standards, they are there. Enforcement and implementation is the issue. And the requisite and relevant agencies of government must take it serious. It's not everything they should bribe you for. This is something that we have to know. There are certain things that should be above bribery, you know, for whatever.
It's about the safety of human beings.
Look at all the lives that are being lost. Look at people getting approval to do housing projects for 3-story, and then suddenly they change it and say there's going to be some amendment to make it 5 or 6. It doesn't work that way. If you must change from 3 to 6, be ready to bring everything down. You know, not some kind of structural amendment in process. No, it shouldn't be so. And we have suffered a lot of loss to make us to wake up and take it serious. So if the vice president is speaking, it's not supposed to be just a counsel. It should be a policy statement that will reimagine the processes of, you know, structural development and engineering in the country. Yeah.
For a lot of these real estate developers, it's almost like they're trying to milk the cow for what it's worth. They want to get their complete money isn't worth in this situation.
500%.
Like they want to put in 100 naira and collect 50,000,
That's what is
and yeah,
going
we
on.
end up with a lot of substandard houses, and you're putting a lot of people's lives at risk. I mean, we've had people die in their homes, in their sleep, and frankly speaking, enough is enough. You should feel safe in your own house.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we have come to the end of our show for today, and I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Chibuzo, for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Please do well to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. All you need to do is look up Trust TV News. You definitely find us there. Well, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Come back again next week. Let's talk numbers.